One thing I love about vinyl is the inserts that sometimes come tucked within the sleeve, or in this case, box set. I always love digging into these, the artwork, the essays, the liner notes, all of it. Today, I'm sharing a number of things I learned from the insert that came with my 4 LP box set of the Smashing Pumpkins' epic release, Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness. I'm going to share a little bit about the artwork. I'm going to share the history, a very brief history, and I'm going to dig into about 7 or so songs that really resonate with me personally. This box set was released in 2022. Want one for yourself? There's a link in the description. Released October 24, 1995, Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness debuted on the Billboard 200 chart at number 1. The album would go on to earn a Grammy, and Bullet with Butterfly Wings would be the band's first top 40 hit, something I actually didn't realize given how much I love Today off Siamese Dream after discovering it in 1993. Hey fellow music nerds, it's Andy with the Fence Post Vinyl channel. If you like this sort of content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, then ring that little bell so you'll be notified when new videos go live. Why don't we go ahead and dig in? Before I really explore some of the album, I wanted to touch briefly on the artwork. This is something I've considered doing a greater, more expansive piece on in the future, so if you'd like to see that, let me know down in the comments. This was created by Wisconsin-based artist John Craig. The illustrator worked from conceptual sketches that Corgan provided to him, and these sketches in reverse can be found within the box set insert, as you can see here in this B-roll footage. Of note, Craig pulled inspiration, and we're talking near exact replication, from a few other well-known artists, including Jean-Baptiste Greuze and Raphael. The face of the woman on the cover is from Jean-Baptiste's piece The Souvenir from around 1787 to 1789. The rest of the woman's body protruding from the star is Raphael's portrait of Saint Catherine. It was a very good representation of what Corgan sent to Craig to create for the artwork, and I think it is just so iconic. Not only does it fit from the 2 artists that he brought together from centuries ago, it fits with all of the other illustrations that Craig created within this piece. About the recording process, here's a quote from frontman Billy Corgan. "I think that's one of the great tragedies in our story, that when we finally did find the right balance internally, we enjoyed our greatest success. What's sad about that is we were never able to replicate that again." According to Corgan, inspiration for the album was drawn from Pink Floyd's The Wall, and as the media often does, this was misconstrued as, "I wrote my wall." What he meant was that Mellon Collie was his attempt to create this monumental, ambitious album. Near 30 years later, I think it's quite apparent that he succeeded in this task. This opposes something I've stated before, actually, referencing the White Album when talking about Mellon Collie. As Corgan notes, The Wall achieved a greater narrative as a collective work, whereas the White Album was merely a wider collection of great songs by a group. If you know the history of Mellon Collie, you're likely familiar with the true breadth and scope of this album. Yes, a double album, but with over 24 tracks, you could almost consider it a triple album. The band's label, Virgin, wasn't all too thrilled about that. They tried to get him to split it into 2 separate releases, as Guns N' Roses had done with Use Your Illusion. But Corgan wouldn't have it. Where the Smashing Pumpkins worked with Butch Vig on their prior album, 1993's Siamese Dream, they tapped Flood and Alan Moulder for Mellon Collie, leaning into the visceral and evolutionary. This led to more inclusion within the band. Flood pulled Darcy and James Iha into the creative process quite a bit more, and as early as the demoing process as well. This had been a point of contention within the band during Siamese Dream, and their inclusion helped lead to a more tight-knit internal dynamic during the recording process. And you know what Corgan says is really true. To me personally, Siamese Dream will always be that kind of pinnacle. That's the album that really got me into exploring and discovering new music as a brand new teenager in 1993. Siamese Dream exposed me to an entire new world. And if Siamese Dream exposed me to that, it was Mellon Collie that really opened my eyes to newly released music. I'm gonna dig into some of the songs next. And we have to start at the beginning, right? Bullet with Butterfly Wings. All the way through the 10 or so months of writing and making this album, I thought this tune both powerful and stupid, states Corgan in the liner notes. I could never really settle on one option over the other. So it was to his surprise that Bullet with Butterfly Wings was picked up as the first single. But if there was any connective tissue between the swooning drown of noise, a borderline shoegaze reference from Siamese Dream through to this, that would also connect to a wider audience, it was Bullet with Butterfly Wings. Corgan states, I find it to be a withering attack on the lameness of fame. Who would have known then that the glory of fame would be an even more important and ever-present commodity in the 21st century? Tonight. In the opening essay before diving into a song-by-song narrative, Corgan notes that Tonight always resonates with audiences, and that it seems to get better as time marches forward. The original song was quite a bit different. Always a throwback to the mod era, the familiar cut time verses weren't there. Inspiration came when the band added orchestration, which led to a complete transformation of the song. The key was shifted from C to G major, the orchestration added. Corgan notes that the session with the classical artists was a harrowing affair, with a whopping 30 people stuffed into the studio. Jellybelly. Jellybelly is an interesting one, as the key riff in this song predates even Siamese Dream. Notes Corgan, we'd spasmodically play some concoction of this song if there was nothing else to jam on in a third encore. Over time, the song morphed, with the Smashing Pumpkins adding in this kind of machine gun rat-tat-tat to provide a bit of buffer, speeding it up a little bit as well and fleshing it out. Zero. For years, I completely forgot about Zero. Even upon picking up the box set, my warped memory put Zero in the band's box set, The Aeroplane Flies High. Yet no, it is right here on Mellon Collie, and it's among the more memorable tracks at that. About Zero, Corgan notes, I presented the completed architecture of the song to the band that following afternoon, which also happened to be my 27th birthday, if you believe in myths and unicorns. I did not know then that I would become the song, and the song would become a part of my assumed identity. The lyric, God is empty, just like me, would haunt him in back alleys for years to come. It's interesting, as he notes that it brought the God-fearing and hell-loving out to hound me, trying their best to convert me to a God and Savior I was already sold on. Got Kitty's glowing eyes over there. It's time for a coffee intermission. Wet my throat a little bit. 1979. The band almost scrapped the song altogether, and yet it's among the most recognizable and heralded tracks from the band. It would become the second single, following Bullet with Butterfly Wings. Corgan. We had the track, and we all thought it was a good song, but every time we tried to play it as a band, it sounded like the Rolling Stones, and not in a good way. It came out too bluesy. The night before the last day, the final day of recording, Corgan went home, finished the song, cut a demo, and the next day they got it recorded. Had this chain of events not occurred, the likelihood of 1979 making it on Mellon Collie was truly non-existent. We all felt it to be a good song and an inspired feeling, states Corgan, but with little in our canon to compare it to, I was lost on it until the thought of losing it off the record roused the fight in me. Within the song, you'll hear far-ranging influences, including Can, New Order, Sonic Youth, Tangerine Dream. Don't take it from me, this comes from the box set liner notes themselves. Porcelina of the Vast Oceans. I remember being drawn into this song as a youthful teenager upon the album's release. Something seemed to connect with me, and to this day, I kind of struggle to place it. As much as I want every line of every song to be perfect, Corgan writes about Porcelina of the vast oceans, there is something perfect about not fussing over anything too much, letting synchronicity be a teacher and guide to the stars. I wouldn't call it haphazard or even erratic, but Corgan's process of writing this song included elements of both, pulling bits and pieces from lines and poems he penned spanning several different notebooks. As the phrase goes, time is of the essence, which from a legal sense conveys that parties to a contract must strictly fulfill obligations in their brief time allocated as part of their material performance to the contract terms. And time was of the essence here. Set with just 3 days to complete the lyrics for the song, but without any true lyrics crafted yet, Corgan was faced with a monumental task for a song spanning nearly 9.5 minutes. He did it though, and it's great. X.Y.U. You know, as I dig through this book and as I dive into other autobiographies, biographies, interviews spanning seemingly countless artists and albums of all kinds of genres, I'm struck by something. It's a commonality across many of them. As just some random appreciator of the recorded sound, I am often taken aback at just how fluid it all is, how sporadic. And why not? Disparate ideas come together. Creativity can seem fleeting in the moment, and perfection is anything but. Time and again, I've touched on this throughout this video. These half-formed ideas, nowhere near completion as the band enters the studio. Pieces fall into place on a whim, spaghetti thrown at the wall to see what sticks. So it was then, so it is now, and so it will be tomorrow. It was certainly that way here on Mellon Collie. This is how many of these artists work. Production and creation in chaos. A loose idea, roughly formed but not fully fleshed out. Struggling with X.Y.U, the band decided to record this one live in studio, take after take, with minor adjustments between each new beginning. Mulder, who you'll recall produced the album with Flood, would call the final take of X.Y.U the single most exciting moment he'd ever had in the studio. Corgan notes that the end result is haunting and singular, a lasting effect which could never have been captured through conventional means. Farewell and good night. The album ends with farewell and good night, and so it is here I end with this video. I'm not really gonna dig too much into the song. I'm not gonna talk about this song though. I've covered a number of tracks in this video, but going deeper would take hours. Instead, I implore you to seek out this box set yourself. Dig into Corgan's narratives about each song for yourself. See the paper and feel the paper on your fingertips and explore the pictures yourself with your own eyes, unencumbered by this digital screen. It's well worth it. Next, check out this video right here where I actually unbox this massive box set and talk about the differences in vinyl pressings, the 4 LP box set and the 3 LP trifold, which I also have. I am Andy, this is the Fence Post Vinyl channel, and I'll see you in the next video.